Hi everybody, today I am continuing my quest to try every highlighter in the world with a suggestion from one of you in the comments, and that was the iconic two-way pens. There's 3 sets, the iconic two-way deco pens, the iconic two-way pastel pens, and the iconic two-way retro pens. That was a lot of words. I found these pens on Jet Pens. They were each $8 for the 5-pack, which is pricey-ish. I mean, again, I guess if you got all 15 of these were, what, $24? So a little bit more expensive than the Mildliners. One of the reasons these pens are interesting to me is they're dual tip, but the dual tip includes like a super fine point tip. Now, Jet Pens did not give me the size of this fine tip point. They just called it a small bullet tip and then a chisel tip. It reminds me a lot of the Fineliner, the Pilot Fineliner tip, or these are the Amazon Basics Fineliners that are comparable to the Flares. It's like a plastic bullet tip, which I'm usually a fan of. They tend to be pretty nice for me as a heavy-handed person. They are very slender, like a pen. Their color is on the ends, and the ends have a thicker end for the chisel and a thinner end for the bullet tip, and the caps are clear. When you put the cap on the end, it takes a lot of pressure to push it off. I had to actually put some pressure on it. And then the side for the bullet tip also has a pen clip. That one seems to pop off a little bit easier. And then it's a pretty dinky pen clip. The nice part about these pens is, aside from the fact that they have the colors on them, they actually say what the colors are. Novel concept in the world of pens, am I right? But this one is ocean blue. That in and of itself is just glorious. Now, the chisel tip is a lot smaller than the Mildliner tip or other highlighters. Like the big chonker highlighters, like the Statler ones or the Stabilo ones, have a really honker tip. But even like the Mildliners, which are a pen shape, the tip of like the iconic pen is a little bit slenderer, which I find interesting. So I've just got a piece of scratch paper here that I'm going to use to demonstrate the tip sizes. The chisel tip, and then the pointy end of the chisel tip. And then this is the bullet tip. Oh, I really like that tip. I really like that bullet tip. Now, as a comparison, next to it, I will put I'll use a darker color, actually, to make it a little more. Whoa! There's all my shit is falling off my desk, because that's the way I live my life. So here's the Mildliner, which is a little bit fatter, as you can see. And then here's this tip for the Mildliner, and then the skinny side of the chisel tip. So everything with the Mildliner is a little bit fatter, a little bit thicker. I will also say, after trying the last few highlighters like the Statlers and the Sharpies and seeing how smushy their chisel tip was, this chisel tip is really firm. So it doesn't feel like it's going to bend quite as easily. And as for the bullet tip, I've used these kinds of plastic tips before. With a lot of heavy-handedness, I've noticed they can kind of split just a little bit. But in the meantime, it's really comfortable for me as a heavy-handed person. Let's take a second here. Let's get a lighter color where it'll be more obvious. And we'll see how they smear, both schmear. Here, this one is from the Deco set. So I get the one I was just using, that blue, is also from the Deco set. This one is canary yellow. And so first we're going to just see how quickly they dry. I saw the moisture, but it dried right down. It didn't smear at all. And then we'll use a Pigma Micron, because that's what I see. And actually, maybe as a experiment, I'll also use the Deco pen, the iconic pen, because I'm curious to see how the highlighters perform on themselves. These dry? Yes. Doesn't look like it's smeared with the Micron or with itself. So good. I am going to do a color swatch, and then we will talk some more. I darkened, I changed the exposure a little bit because I felt like you couldn't see some of these at all, which is my initial complaint. The deco set, with the exception of Canary Yellow, is really readable with the bullet tip, but I feel like the marker colors are really dark for highlighting versus the pastel set, which is perfect for highlighting, but the pen colors are really, really pale. I had the same issue with the passion markers. I want the pens to be usable, like if they were these same colors but more saturated so that they were more legible, then that would be helpful. But again, I don't know if that's possible when you have a pen that shares a barrel. Do you know what I mean? Looking at these though, these are gorgeous colors. I would say that out of all of them, you would think the pastel would be my favorite set. I really like the retro set. I like how kind of like laid back it feels. But these are beautiful pens. I feel like that bullet tip is just not going to be very useful with these two sets because you're not going to be able to read what they say. But then these guys are so bright and saturated that like, will you be able to highlight with them really well? I don't know. One of the things I've been doing during these highlighter reviews is comparing them to the Mildliners. And I mean, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth Thunderdome where I compare highlighters to each other, like a huge roundup. But for these individual videos, the reason I'm comparing them to Mildliners, it seems like in the last several years in the planner world, at least, which is where I am living my best internet life, the Mildliners have been the most ubiquitous planner highlighters. I love that word, by the way, ubiquitous. It's just fun to say. They are the most common highlighters, and you can find them at Target and at Michael's. Like, they're not difficult to find, and they are Instagram friendly with how cute they are. A lot of people have them, and so finding color matches within a set of highlighters is it's worthwhile for me, because if there is a color, if I can match these colors, then you can see that you already have these colors in your collection. And if you watch my super tips video where I matched almost all of the Mildliners to the super tips, then if you have the super tips, you could also make the same case. Now, when I went through originally and tested, I found either matches or fairly close matches to almost every single color here with the Mildliner. So I'm going to show you that really quick so you can see the difference and decide whether or not that's something that is important to you when it comes to buying new pens. We're going to start with the Deco set, which I feel like has the least close matches. Like, there are colors that are in the same ballpark, but they're not really the same. For Ocean Blue, we have Cyan, which is not even close. That's the closest blue I could find in the Mildliners. And like I said, these are dark. These are like marker colors, so it's going to be difficult to find a similar color. It's the same for the Canary Yellow. We've got Lemon Yellow, which is probably one of the closest ones, but again, it's not exactly the same. For the Peach Pink, I have Coral Pink. That one is probably the closest of all of the color matches for this particular set. For the red, I have Marigold, which is a lot more orangey. And then for the green, I have Summer Green, which is probably one of my favorite Mildliner colors, but it's a little bit cooler toned than this green. This is more of like a Kelly green, like a true green, and this is like a prettier green. I love green, though. It's my favorite color. So yeah, so these are the color matches. Now, of them, I would say that all of the colors, I believe, except for maybe the Marigold, no, I believe all of these colors are in the two newer packs of Mildliners. So if you got the 15 count from Target, these colors would not necessarily be in that pack. These are a mixture, I believe, of the Friendly and the Brights sets, which are the two newer Mildliner sets. So if these colors appeal to you, you haven't been able to get your hands on these colors of markers, then you could pick up the Deco set, and that would be handy for you if you like the Deco set version of these colors better than the Mildliner versions. Now, for the pastel set, we have some closer color matches, but they're not all like the most phenomenal. Aqua Blue has the blue-green. Lime Yellow has the what is this color? This is like citrus green, I think is what it's called. This one is a lot greener, and this one's a lot yellower. I actually really like both of these colors. Apricot Beige, which I think is a really pretty color, has apricot from the Mildliners, which is actually just a little bit more saturated. If this writing was this level of saturation, I would be so happy. Lovely Pink has magenta, which is a more purpley version. And then Pale Lavender has violet. So these are not exactly the same, but they are a lot closer. And several of these colors, I believe if you look at this set, the apricot and the magenta and the lime green are all from the newer colors of Mildliners, whereas the violet and the aqua green are from the original 3 sets. And then finally we have the retro set, which I would argue is the most matched in the Mildliners. And I would also say that I think all of these colors are in the original Mildliners. So brownie pink has the match in Mildliner red. Warm gray matches the gray. Mustard yellow matches the gold, which is, I would say, the least matched. It's just a little bit warmer than this one. Pale vermilion matches vermilion, which is a slightly more saturated version. And then cloudy blue matches smoke blue. But as you can see here, these colors are basically the same. So I would argue that if you were interested in buying any of these pens and you already had Mildliners, the retro set would likely be the last one you would want to buy unless you're really down to write with these super fine tipped pale colors. So overall, I actually really like these pens. I really like the smaller highlighter. Now, hear me out for this, okay? The reason I like the smaller highlighter is, like, imagine if you're writing like highlighter. You can use one of these skinny minis to like artfully highlight like down the center of it. So it just, having some of the word peek out on the top and the bottom, to me looks really cute. Like, it sounds so silly, but I love that. Also, if you're a student and you're working in a textbook, then having the really thin chisel tip to highlight your stuff in the textbook, I feel like would fit better in smaller text, like in smaller typesetting. So if you were going to be highlighting a bunch of, like, a line or two in like a massive wall of text, having a skinnier highlighter might be more helpful. Overall, I want to use these some more. I am going to keep these relatively close at hand until I do the highlighter Thunderdome and decide what I want to do with them, because I'm fascinated by them. I really like the way they feel when you use them. I like the small chisel tip, and I love this bullet nib. I just don't love how pale it is. But I want to play with these a little bit more. However, if you already have the Mildliners, especially if you have the entire set, all, 25 Mildliners, color-wise, you don't need these. These pens are very much either dupable or close enough within the Mildliners. And I don't think that the bullet tip is valuable enough with some of these pale ones, unless that's really your bag, baby. I also like, and this is something I didn't point out because I didn't really think about it, each of the sets has a different color in the middle. So which one is this? This is the Deco set, has a blue, like, center stripe. The Pastel set has a gray. And then the retro set has this kind of like greenish gray color. There's a name for that color, and I'm brain farting on it. That color, though, the greenish gray. So like your sets are, you can tell when you look at them, the different color sets. That's actually a nice little touch. I like that. Anyway, so I am going to say overall, these are interesting pens. If you want to burn your money on highlighters and you already have the Mildliners, then go to town. But if you are looking to make informed decisions and you already have all the Mildliners, then the only reason to buy these would be for this bullet tip. And I don't think that that's a worthwhile reason to buy them, because I think that these are almost useless in terms of being able to read what you wrote. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you in the comments what you think about these pens. Do you think they're interesting? Do you have other pens or highlighters you want me to take a look at? Stay safe, you guys. Wear a mask, all of the things. And until next time, peace out, my dudes.